You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello everyone, thanks for being here today. I am Kirk Mona and I am joined today by Rachel Ginza and Victoria Thompson. We are all professional naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Welcome back, everyone. I get to start us off this week, but first we have to say hi because Victoria's here. Hi, Victoria.
Hey, I'm here. Yay.
Yay.
Hey, Victoria. You know, Victoria, it occurs to me, it still says every single week.
Yeah, I know.
Our three names in the intro. Even though you're not here every week, but I'm not changing it.
I'm here in spirit.
Here with
every
us
week.
live with
in
it.
spirit. She's with us in spirit here.
With
I'm
us,
also not
right.
technically
Yeah,
a professional naturalist anymore. I'm still a naturalist. I feel like I'll always be a naturalist, but I'm not a professional naturalist anymore.
You're a professional and a naturalist, but technically you're no longer a professional naturalist, right?
Exactly.
I guess. I mean, I'm a student.
I think it
technically
still
right
counts.
now, but whatever.
Hey, aren't we all students?
Well, professional student, maybe.
There we go.
We're all students of life. You're just paying more money than we are to study.
My goodness.
Yeah.
All right. So, what were both of your lockdown hobby or things that you learned? Because I know a lot of people had, just stick with me, it all will come together. Because I know a lot of people learned to do new things during lockdown. Like me personally, I learned how to raise an eyebrow, like a single eyebrow. That was my lockdown thing that I learned.
Great.
Wow, that's a good one.
I took the time to learn that. Did you all have like a hobby or something that you learned?
I had toddlers, so
Valid.
no.
Right, that's what you were learning.
Yes, I was learning toddlers.
Valid.
Now, Rachel, this is such a loaded question.
I know.
You know that I collect hobbies like...
Yeah. I do.
The lockdown was... I need no excuse to learn something new. So, one thing I did learn that was new that was sort of work-related is I did a lot of video production work because we took a lot of our teaching online. So I took some of my existing video, work knowledge and learned all kinds of new streaming platforms and ways to do interactive stuff with people online. So that was one thing I spent a lot of time learning.
Oh, I have
There you
one.
go.
It was a little later in the pandemic, but I don't know if you guys know this. I started a podcast with a couple friends.
Oh,
There is that. I was going to say that as
yeah.
well.
You know what? That's
yeah.
right. I
did start a
remember that.
podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. Okay.
Yeah. Like 3 years ago. Let that
like
sink in.
Oh my gosh.
Yep, yeah, you're right. Oh man. Okay, so one ecologist that was in Germany took work home with her during lockdown and learned something
A lot of us did.
fascinating. All right. So
How do you
Daniela,
take work home with you when you're an ecologist?
Oh,
I'm sure
just
you'll
wait.
enlighten us.
I absolutely will. So Daniela Rusler had a field near her home, and during lockdown, as an ecologist, apparently when she was able to go in the field like big F field, apparently that is a remote place in Brazil generally for her, so she couldn't go there.
The field. Okay, got it.
The big F field. All
Big
right, yeah.
F field. So she went to a little field near her home, and she discovered something really, really cool. This particular field apparently had a bunch of little tiny jumping spiders.
Oh,
Aw.
cute, fun.
So
Who doesn't like a jumping spider?
Exactly. So we've talked about various...
probably lots of people.
Lots of people, yes.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But
they should. They're so cute.
They're so cute. So we've talked about various jumping spiders before, like the peacock jumping spider and things. So just to give you a little idea, there was this really
one,
cute little, that one too. There was a cute little animation or picture of a spider being passed around on the internet. with like big eyes and things like that. Generally speaking, if you picture a cute spider, it's a jumping spider.
Yes.
Give everyone a little bit of an
Makes
idea.
sense.
So Daniela was observing these spiders, which were very small, like about the size of her pinky fingernail or whatever. So really tiny, pretty small.
Yeah.
They're not big. And she saw that some of them, like when night fell, so when it was nighttime, she saw that some of them went into little nests of silk, which are called retreats.
Oh,
so
the
fun.
spider retreat.
Spider retreat.
Nice.
And some would hang upside down from a silk strand. And she noticed, as she was watching, that the spiders seemed to be sleeping, which is highly scientists. We've talked about sleep before. Scientists think that every animal sleeps, but what that looks like differs in all various kinds of animals. So she was pretty sure that they were sleeping, but she noticed that they seemed to be twitching while they were sleeping. So,
All right.
as you do as an ecologist, she decided to
spider dreams.
That's my thought. Yeah.
hold on to that.
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
As
All
you
right.
do, she decided to run an experiment. Now, this is 2020. She was able to go to her lab eventually, and she was able to get a bunch of baby jumping spiders, like 135 little jumping baby spiders. Okay? And have
That
a
they
little
just
nursery.
Have sitting around at the lab, or
Well, it was
She got
for
those
like a
from the
little
field.
nursery. She got them. I think she ordered the jumping spiders. I don't think that
Oh, okay.
she like brought them in or anything like that. She just was, I don't know exactly how that
just probably hopped
particular
on
bit
Amazon
works.
and ordered jumping spiders.
Why not? Well, these are little babies. And the reason why she got baby jumping spiders is because when they're really young, they actually don't have any pigment in like their like exoskeleton yet. So
Okay.
Oh, okay.
she was able to see into the spiders' heads.
Oh.
And the reason why, there's a
Okay.
distinct reason why she wanted to see into the spiders' heads. And it was
This is
something to
so
do
cool
with,
already.
it's very cool. So one of the reasons why she wanted to see into the spiders' heads was because she wanted to look at the spiders' eyes. So because she could see into their head, she could see their eyes.
Like the
Sure.
back of their eyeballs, basically.
Like the back of their eyeballs. To give a little context about spider eyes are fixed. They don't have muscles like we do to be able to move their eyes in their sockets or anything like that, like we do. But they still need to have
Right.
really good vision to be able to catch prey, or in this case for jumping spiders, to to gauge a jump and be able to land it. So instead, the back of a spider's eye, the retina is able to move along the back of the eye to shift the vision fields.
Whoa, what?
They're boomerang
I have
shaped and
not
they
heard
move.
that. That's super cool.
Isn't that so cool?
What?
Nice.
Now, the reason
Very much so, yes.
it's so fun. So our retina is fixed, but our eyes can move because we have the muscles to do that. Now, this is
Right,
important
right.
to know. And the reason why this is important to know is because Roosler was, through these observations, was able to find that while they are potentially sleeping, they are experiencing rapid retinal movement.
Ah,
Yes.
I was right. They're having little
You
spider
were
dreams.
right. They're having little
Well,
spider
yeah.
dreams.
That's
So
awesome.
it's so
So similar to
cool.
like the rapid eye movement you see in humans, right? Like
Exactly. That's what the thought is.
awesome.
So with all of this, when they were experiencing the rapid retinal movement, their little legs would curl and uncurl, and sometimes their abdomens would wiggle around or twitch. And it looked like they were practicing different movements and things like that, which suggests dreams. This happened multiple times throughout the night, with the retinal movement lasting about 77 seconds and increasing over time throughout the night, and was periodic. So it happened about every 20 minutes. And then after
Yep.
that was done, they would wake up. They seemingly woke up for a little bit, cleaned themselves, and then would go back to what we assume is sleep. What makes this extraordinarily cool is that this is the first invertebrate to be found that experiences REM-like sleep and potential dreaming. Before this, it's only been shown in vertebrate species.
Rachel,
That's amazing.
astounding.
Isn't
Astounding.
it so cool?
I did not make such grand contributions to science advancement in my free time.
Neither
Alright.
did I.
I did a lot of education. I hope that inspired future scientists, but wow.
Absolutely. But it's so cool. But honestly, that's all that I have for you this week is the fact that spiders apparently dream, which is fascinating.
That's more than enough.
Oh, so cool. So
Yeah, I think you got enough there, Rachel. That's
I think so too. So I have to give credit for a couple of things. First of all, my friend Adina, who sent this to me over like a week ago and was like, apparently their life goal is to be shouted out on the podcast. So Adina, congrats. You've been shouted out. This was amazing.
Oh, thank you, Adina. Yeah.
And then my sources were also a National Geographic article as well as the PNAS article.
Our favorite.
Our favorite scientific journal. Regularly occurring bouts of retinal movement suggests an REM sleep-like state in jumping spiders, which was published August 2022.
Very nice.
Nice.
So, with that, we're going to take a quick break. And when we return, it'll be Victoria.
Hey. All right, we're back. I also have a shout out to give to friend and listener Ezra, who inspired me for the topic I'm about to discuss.
Ooh, thanks, Ezra.
Yeah. So we hear a lot about how like chimpanzees and bonobos are our closest relatives. And there's been a lot of analysis that compares their societies to human societies. Like, bonobos are peaceful and have lots of sex, and chimpanzees are violent and warlike, et cetera, et cetera. And, in many ways, humans and apes are very alike. It's true. But, chimps live in small groups of like 20 to 150 individuals, which is a very different scale than modern societies. Group. Yeah. That are millions and billions.
I mean, it's kind of the scale I prefer, but yeah.
Yes, well, there is something in what you say, Kirk. But, to live in a society with millions of people, you need to have systems to deal with stuff like sanitation, food supply, defense.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So forth. They're just not needed in small groups like that. So, to find an animal that's similar to humans in this respect, you really have to look beyond our close relatives, the apes, beyond the primates, beyond the mammals, and even beyond the vertebrate world to the ants.
Sure.
Yeah. So like modern humans, ants can live in very large groups of up to millions or, really trillions of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And they do, in fact, engage in warfare that can be incredibly destructive to the colonies involved, similar to some of the wars that humans have undertaken in the last couple hundred years. And in fact,
I've stumbled upon some epic ant wars going on at work.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Nice.
Holy cow.
Well, there is, in fact, a war that has been going on for decades that results in millions of casualties every year. But it is all beneath our feet and mostly beneath our notice. And I'm not going to talk about just any ants today, because many ants engage in warfare and take over territory. But today I'm going to be talking about the Argentine ant, which is arguably the most successful invasive species in history.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, its Latin name This one is a little tricky. Lenepithema humile.
All right, if you are
Beautiful.
struggling with a Latin name,
Yeah.
I
that tells me
would
it must really be
slaughter. I would
something.
just, it would be the worst if I tried that.
Argentine ant. That's nice and easy to say. They originally,
That
of
works
course,
for me.
they come from Argentina and the surrounding countries.
Oh, you don't say.
Yes, they do.
They're
Imagine
the
that.
best.
Yeah, in their native area, they live in subtropical areas near the Paraná River watershed. And, in that area, they have colonies that aggressively fight each other for territory. And that state of war against other Argentine ant colonies keeps the size of each colony in a reasonable size, like under control.
Oh, sure. They're fighting with other Argentinian ants, like the
Yeah.
same species.
Yes.
Okay,
And
okay.
probably
Okay.
also other ant species, but, they're fighting interspecies warfare, or intraspecies warfare,
gotcha.
I should say.
Okay.
However, starting in the 19th century, some of these ants managed to stow away on trading ships traveling from South America to Europe. And once there, they found that they
Uh-oh.
really loved the Mediterranean climate.
Yeah.
And they started.
What's not to like about that stifling heat? Yeah.
Oh, well. It's dry heat. They started spreading rapidly, and their aggressive nature meant that they were easily able to overpower the native ants in the region. In addition, they started behaving differently than they did in South America.
Huh.
Interesting.
Yes. Instead of forming smaller colonies that fought with each other, these Argentine ants began to form enormous super colonies.
Not
What?
great.
Yeah. But of course, Europe was also a center of trade and colonization in the 19th century. And so the ant was then transported from Europe to North America, Japan, and many other locations.
Of
Now
course.
there are super colonies in California, besides Mediterranean, California, Japan, Australia, and perhaps other locations as well. These are truly massive, mind-bogglingly massive. So the one in California stretches from San Diego to north of San Francisco.
What?
Whoa. That's not a small distance.
No, it's not. And the one in the Mediterranean is
What?
even larger. It stretches more than 6,000 kilometers from Italy to the Atlantic coast of Spain.
What?
Yes.
Wait,
That's one colony?
Okay.
Yes.
Hold on.
So, Go ahead,
How
go
is
ahead.
that one colony? How is that possibly one colony?
these
Like, how do you even
are
define it at that point?
multiple queen colonies. So
Okay.
each colony has multiple queens. So
Okay.
that obviously reduces the limits on their growth, their reproduction. And also, a queen and a few workers can then branch off to form kind of satellite colonies that become part of the super colony. But what makes it all one colony is that they recognize each other. They do not fight each other. And they're all cooperating.
Okay.
Whoa.
Are they all? I mean, are these all overlapping territories the entire way then?
It's one contiguous
You know-
colony,
Well, right. Oh my God. That's just
That's
as far as I
wild.
understand. Yeah.
Whoa.
Obviously not, an ant in Spain is not going to ever talk to an ant in Italy.
No,
But-
of course not. They
speak
speak a
different
slightly different language. So yeah,
Yeah. But, they
High
can
five,
kind
both
of
went to the
understand each other.
same joke well there, Rachel.
It was right there, Kirk.
It was, yeah.
But how is this possible? These warlike ants that are fighting each other back in Argentina and South America are getting
Right.
along and cooperating in their new lands. So one possibility is that the initial trip to Europe was a genetic bottleneck. And,
Sure.
back in South America,
Hmm.
there is, in fact, a lot of genetic diversity among the ants.
Right.
And that affects the chemical signatures by which they recognize each other, sniff each other out. And so it's, the smell of oneself, one's own colony versus the other colony.
Oh, so these all
Right.
smell the same.
Yeah, perhaps. And then, so then Europe,
Perhaps,
the ones from Europe were then distributed to other places. But
Right. So they all get along.
right. This may not actually be accurate though, because there
Okay.
doesn't seem to be such extreme genetic conformity at these different locations. So like some scientists have done genetic analysis within these super colonies and found that there's some genetic variation, including at, the gene locations where they think they're making their identification smells. So there was a 2002 paper.
Darn. Okay.
Yeah, there was a 2002 paper that put out another hypothesis, which is that unicoloniality, I can't say that word. Giant colonyness. Yeah. Has evolved because they are in a non-native environment. Now, this argument's a little hard to follow, but basically, in the absence of natural threats, they form denser colonies because they're able to reproduce more, and they don't have to expend energy fighting other colonies.
Oh, because there's always more room to expand into. And
Yeah, and denser colonies have higher rates because you have more workers in a single colony. They're gonna more frequently encounter workers in another colony of Argentine ants. But colonies that show cooperative behavior with others of their species just wind up having greater success than aggressive colonies. So I don't totally follow the argument, but they seem to be making the argument that being in an environment that's easier to spread in has caused the evolution of this behavior rather than it being some kind of genetic bottleneck.
Sure.
Yeah. They have no such mercy for other species, though. They just
of course not.
blitz all the other ants in their path. And in fact, it's caused a lot of problems because
I can imagine.
Yeah, native species that eat native ants, are not always able to eat the Argentine ants and then sewing up the food chain.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. But the sheer size of these colonies is mind-boggling, and the fact that they've evolved this really odd, different behavior in a different environment is also pretty fascinating. So that is what I wanted to share this week.
Yeah, that's wild.
Mm-hmm.
Dang.
Cool.
So that 2002 paper
Thanks,
I mentioned
Victoria.
yeah, you're welcome. That was also in our favorite journal, PNAS, by Giraud and others. And then I also got some helpful information from articles in Scientific American and the Smithsonian Magazine, as well as a few other sources. We are going to take a little break, and when we come back, it'll be Kirk.
Hey everybody, listener mailbag time. We got a message from one of our patrons, and let me just say, our patrons are so cool.
They're
you
so
guys.
cool.
They are so cool.
Highest caliber of people.
Love
This
them.
one was from Mish Irish. Hey Mish, I'm going to paraphrase a wee bit for time here, but Mish wrote to say, I just listened to your invisible squid episode. That was Rachel's topic. Pretty awesome.
Yeah,
That was so cool.
And she said, I have something to add. I work in the notobiotic research at Penn State University. And there's another lab on campus that studies
Wild.
the Hawaiian bobtail squid. And I've talked with them about it. Notobiotics deals with germ-free animals that we populate with known and controlled microflora. So I was interested in these squid because they hatch germ-free and then get populated with V. fisheri.
Mm-hmm.
From what I understood, talking with that lab, the population size of the colony inside the squid's light organ is what causes the bacteria to illuminate. And it's called quorum sensing, which I think you mentioned on the show there.
I did, yeah.
So the bacteria produce a molecule, and when enough of that molecule is present, they light up. So a large population equals lights on, less population equals lights off. They vent in the morning because they spend the day buried in the sand and thus don't need to illuminate. And as we talked about, then the colony regrows by the time they emerge at night. She says she has personally seen them bury themselves in the sand, and they wiggle down in, and then 2 little tentacles come out to brush sand over their heads. It's super cute and also very cool.
Cute. Oh, that's
super
so
jealous.
Cool.
That's
How
a cool
amazing that you chose this topic, and then one of our patrons happens to have talked to the folks at where she works, who also work with that species, who are studying it because of some of the unique scientific, characteristics that it has, which is very,
wild.
very cool.
So fun.
Thanks,
you,
Mish, for writing in and sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sharing what you know about these one of our strange topics. If you, yes, you listener, have something to share with us, you can do so either through the Patreon app, if you are a patron, or through the Podbean app for anyone who listens on Podbean, or you can simply email us at contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. All right, everybody, how's it going? I am here today to tell you a little bit about a tiger in Thailand.
A tiger in Thailand. Okay.
Yeah,
Is
but
this
probably
a specific tiger, or is it?
it's not a tiger at all. Actually, tiger in this case is an acronym. So tiger stands for Thailand Inventory Group of Entomological Research. And so we all did insects this week, which is pretty awesome.
That is wild.
Well,
yeah,
spiders,
cool.
arthropods.
Spiders, I'm sorry. Spiders, not. We all did. I meant to say we did invertebrates this week.
That works.
So, yes. Tiger is a group of researchers interested in searching out and cataloging insects. Specifically, it's why I had insects in my brain. And they're doing this in Thailand. So back in 2012, or around 2012, they collected insects in threatened habitats along the Mekong River. And the Mekong, by the way, has been listed by the Critical Ecosystem Partnership Fund as one of the top 5 critically endangered ecosystems in the world. So the work they're doing there is especially important. We want to know what's in that area. I hate to say before it gets wiped out, but that's kind of how it may be. We need to know what we're trying to save there. And one of the many insects they collected was a species of wasp. And this isn't all that surprising, as scientists have already identified over 100,000 species of wasps in the world. And that's likely only a fraction of how many are out there. Like, nature really loves wasps. There are lots of wasps out there.
This isn't a wasp, but just in the state of Minnesota, there are 500 species of native bee. So, it doesn't surprise me that there's that many wasp species in the world. Not that they're the same.
Yeah. And to be more specific, though, it happened to be a member of a group of wasps that I've talked about before on this show.
Is it the golden digger wasps?
Well, in episode 5, Rachel, I talked about a North American wasp that I see every summer, and you already guessed it. It's the golden digger wasp.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
Kirk,
as it turns out,
just thinking about this for reasons will be explained next week.
Oh, next week. All right. Well, it turns out the species that I want to talk about this week that the Tiger team found is also in this same family. It's a type of digger wasp.
Cool.
Interestingly, I've learned that entomologists have described over 10,000 different digger wasps. Just digger wasps. 10,000 of them. So simple math there means that 10% of all wasps known to science are actually types of digger wasps.
That's nuts.
Which is
wild.
super cool. Now, digger wasps are parasitic wasps, and this one does not disappoint.
Oh, good.
This new species of wasp hunts cockroaches.
Yes.
Which is super cool.
I really
when it
don't
finds one, it uses its large stinger to attack the cockroach and sting it right between the head and the thorax. And the wasp basically injects a powerful neurotoxin essentially directly into the brain of the cockroach, which is pretty wild.
You go, wasp.
I think
that is aggressive.
Yeah. Victoria's probably got some trauma around cockroaches, so she's very happy to hear that.
I don't blame her.
I think I said back in episode 5 too that I'm so grateful there are not giant digger wasps that do this to humans.
Yes.
Having a wasp about half the size of my body hunt me down and shoot a neurotoxin through the back of my neck and into my brain is not high on my list of ways to exit the earth.
That sounds
Luckily,
awful.
they're not huge. The golden digger wasp I talked about back in episode 5. It stings and paralyzes crickets and grasshoppers so it can fly away with them. This wasp does something a little different, though. The neurotoxin doesn't immediately paralyze the cockroach, but it seems to make them unable to move where they want to move. It essentially turns them into a zombie.
Yay,
That's
zombie
right. Turn them into
parasited.
zombies.
Parasitized
That will
insect.
they will obey the commands of the wasp. And the researchers observed that the zombified cockroach would stop fighting and then seem to walk into the wasp's den all on its own.
How?
And it really-
What?
Well, that's the thing. I'm sorry, I gotta tell you, they don't know. It really wasn't clear if the wasps were somehow leading them. They weren't riding them, which is what I was kind of hoping, like, pulling their
Right.
legs and stuff. No.
Like a little
But they
Ratatouille thing.
somehow, they were somehow leading them in, but it wasn't really clear because, they were trying to collect so many insects. They weren't there necessarily to study one specific one. So they just got some basic information on it. So naturally, what happens next after the cockroach is in the den is kind of what happens with much of all digger wasps. The cockroach becomes fully paralyzed underground, where the female wasp puts one of her larvae on it, and the larva begins to feed a bit on the exterior of the cockroach before burrowing inside, somehow knowing to eat the least important bits first to keep the cockroach alive as long as possible.
Nice and fresh.
Oh.
Slowly devouring it alive from the inside.
That's so metal.
It's pretty metal, yeah. Eventually, the larva has gone through metamorphosis and it has completely eaten the entire cockroach alive from the inside out in the process. It basically just becomes like an exoskeleton that the wasp was hanging out inside. It's pretty much as horrific as it sounds. Now, I do think that's interesting, but we've already talked about something similar on the podcast. And, keen-eared co-hosts and listeners may have noticed I haven't actually said the name
Yeah,
of
why
this
haven't you said
particular
the name?
I
digger
did
wasp
notice that.
from Thailand. Why haven't I said the name? Well, that's actually part of the story. Because when it was first collected, it wasn't given a name. And this is not uncommon. People are collecting stuff. To actually give something a name, it has to go off to a research institution where it can be carefully studied, figure out, is this something a species we know, a species we don't know, if it's new, where do we taxonomically place it? Like, all this stuff has to happen. And sometimes it happens years after something has been collected, right? Often at a museum. And the holotype for this species was deposited into the collection at the Museum for Naturkunde in Berlin, Germany, where it waited to be described along with, probably thousands of others. But that process is often something the public doesn't get to see. And the result is a scientific name that neither the public nor poor podcast hosts like us are sure how to pronounce. And even if we can pronounce it, we're not sure what it means. Most of us did not take Latin as our world language in school. But this museum decided it'd be fun to let the public help out and choose a name for this soul-sucking parasite wasp. And the result was glorious.
I'm so excited.
The museum visitors got to learn about taxonomy and the process, and they helped vote and create one of the newest named species of digger wasp. So I present to you Ampulex Dementor.
Oh, that's so good.
That's right. This is now officially the Dementor wasp, named after the soul-sucking guards of Azkaban prison in Harry Potter.
Very nice.
That's so cool.
Good job, public.
Which is
Good job, public.
very cool.
That is so fun.
Yeah, basically, I just want to talk about the Dementor wasp. It's super cool.
So cool.
We talked about digger wasp before, but the fact that there's one that's
Called
literally
the
named after
Dementor.
Dementors is
It tickles that little nerd
pretty
itch
awesome.
that we just love.
Yep.
Sure does. This was not from PNAS or the journal you guys were looking in. This was from another great journal, PLOS One, and the story is called "The Soul-Sucking Wasp" by popular acclaim, museum visitor participation in biodiversity discovery and taxonomy. And also got some information from animalfact.com about the insect itself. So very cool. All
So
you Harry
fun.
Potter nerds rejoice. There's now an actual soul-sucking Dementor prowling the planet.
So fun. Oh, thanks, Kirk.
You're welcome. It's happened, you guys. That's another week. Thanks for tuning in. Go ahead and write us any comments you have, and we'll see everybody next week.
Bye.
See you then.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all of our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach out to us on social media by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can also check out our website, which is strangebynaturepodcast.com. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.